Hello everyone, I'm Archana from Edureka and I welcome you all to yet another session on cybersecurity. And this session is all about penetration testing. So without any delay, let me walk you through the topics which we will be talking about today. So we will begin by discussing what exactly is penetration testing. Then we will get into different phases of penetration testing. Moving on, we'll check out different penetration testing types as well as tools. And finally, we'll end this session by exploring a popular penetration testing tool called Metasploit. So I hope agenda was clear to you guys. Let's get started then. So what is penetration testing? You can find essence of technology everywhere today. As businesses increase their dependency on information technology, including cloud, IoT devices, mobile devices, social media, the cyber risk continues to rise at alarming rate. Every day, you hear about cyber hackers attacking into computer systems, servers, stealing everything from passwords to financial information. But how are they doing that? The answer is simple. Cyber criminals generally make use of loopholes present in computer systems, networks, and applications to get what they want. These vulnerabilities could be due to multiple reasons. Let's take a look at few of them. Flaws in the design of hardware and software can put business critical data at risk of exposure. If the system is poorly configured, then it can introduce loopholes through which attackers can enter into system and steal the information in matter of seconds. Or you could be using an unsecured network, making it easy for the cyber criminals to attack. The more complex the architecture of computer system is, the more chances your system is being attacked. Often, human errors like improper disposal of sensitive documents, coding errors, insider threats, sharing passwords, etc. can lead to security breaches as well. But the good news is that there is a way a company can find out security weaknesses and loopholes which are present in computer system, networks, and applications before the cyber criminals can. This can be accomplished through an iterative process known as penetration testing or simply known as pen test for short. So penetration testing in simple terms is art of finding vulnerabilities and digging deep to find out how much a target can be compromised in case of a legitimate attack. Well, think of it this way. It's like a bank hiring someone to dress as a burglar and try to break into the building and gain access to the vault. If the burglar succeeds and gets into the bank or the vault, the bank will gain valuable information on how they need to tighten their security measures. Similarly, the primary purpose of penetration testing is to identify any weak spots or vulnerabilities in systems' defenses which attackers could take advantage of. Apart from this, the other reasons for penetration testing include to measure the compliance of organization security policy, test the staff's awareness of security issues, and determine whether and how the organization would respond to security disasters. So guys, I hope now you have a basic idea of what penetration testing is, right? Let's move on then. Now let's discuss the actual process followed by penetration testers or agencies. Penetration testing can be actually broken down into multiple phases, and these phases vary depending on organization and the type of test conducted. But we'll discuss about different types of penetration testing later. So like I said, penetration testing is mainly broken down into 5 phases. Let me give you an overview and then we'll discuss each layer in detail, okay? So, penetration tester usually begins by gathering as much information about the target as possible. Then he identifies the possible vulnerabilities in the system by scanning, after which he launches an attack. Post-attack, he analyzes each vulnerabilities and the risk involved. Finally, a detailed report is submitted to higher authorities summarizing the results of a pen test which was conducted. So like I said, 5 important phases. Now let's discuss each phase in detail. So the first phase is planning. In this phase, attacker gathers as much information about the target as possible. The information can be IP address, domain details, mail servers, network topology, etc. So basically, he also decides on type of systems which are considered to be as target, type of methods that you should use on a target to attack the system and all that. So this is very important step, guys, the first step. So here, the pen tester or the agency literally plans everything as to what is to be done in the pen testing. Now moving on to next step, which is scanning. In this phase, attacker will interact with the target with aim to identify the loopholes or the weak points which are present in a system or a network or an application. So basically, this phase includes scanning the network with various scanning tools, identification of open shared drives, open FTP portals, and services that are running, and much more. So in case of web application, the scanning part can be either dynamic or it could be static. In static scanning, the aim is to identify the vulnerable functions, libraries, and logic which is implemented. In case of dynamic analysis, the tester will pass various inputs to application and record the responses. So it's more practical way of scanning when compared to static analysis. So now moving on to next phase, which is execution phase. This is a crucial step that has to be performed with due care. This is the step where actual damage is done. It requires special skills and techniques to launch an attack on targeted system. Using these techniques, an attacker will try to get data, compromise the system, or launch an DOS attack, etc., to check to what extent the computer system or an application or the network can be compromised in an legitimate attack. So basically, this is the phase where actual attack is being done. Now, post attack, we have something called analysis phase. So once the penetration test is complete, the final aim is to collect the evidence of exploited vulnerabilities and then report it to executive management for review and later action. Well, sometimes in this step, a penetration tester also provides some useful information or recommendations to implement in order to improve security levels. Apart from this, like I said, he might have discovered different kind of vulnerabilities and the risk which are involved with these vulnerabilities, right? So he basically categorizes the risk, as in he specifies if the risk is critical or if it's high or the medium or low, as in the effect of that vulnerability will be high or critical or medium or low on the system. Well, don't worry about it. Well, in the demo part of the session, I'll show you this part and you'll understand it much better over there. So let's move on to next phase, which is output phase. Now, this last step is very important for the whole process. In this step, the results of penetration tests are compiled into a detailed report. This report usually has the recommendations which are identified in the previous phase, that's analysis phase, and specific vulnerabilities that were discovered and the risk levels they possess. Basically, it usually has the summary of entire pen test conducted to be there in the report. So there you go, guys. This is usual procedure that all kind of penetration testing agencies follow to perform penetration testing. So like I said, these phases usually vary depending on organization and type of penetration test that they're conducting. So there are different types of penetration testing types, and you can categorize pen testing based on different strategies. Let's begin by the basic ones. So first, to begin with, we have network penetration testing. It usually aims at discovering weaknesses and loopholes which are related to network infrastructure of an organization. It involves firewall configuration, bypass testing, stateful analysis testing, DNS attacks, and many others. And some of the most common software packages which are examined in this test include Secure Shell, which is SSH. Then you have SQL Server, MySQL, and SMTP protocol, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Then there is File Transfer Protocol. Basically, all the software packages are checked for any loopholes or weak points. And then there is Web Application Penetration Testing. So in application penetration testing, you check if there is any loopholes or vulnerabilities which are present in web-based application. Usually the core components of applications such as ActiveX, Silverlight, Java applets, and APIs are examined in this phase or in this type of penetration testing. And then there is wireless penetration testing. So as the name implies, this test involves examining all the wireless devices which are used in a corporation. It could be notebooks, smartphones, laptops, etc. Basically, this test spots weak points in terms of wireless access points, admin credentials, and wireless protocols. And then there is social engineering. This type of test involves attempting to get confidential or very sensitive information by purposely tricking an employee of an organization. Well, you have two subsets here. First, there is remote testing. Here, you are tricking an employee to reveal sensitive information via an electronic means. It could be an email or an SMS and all that. And then there is physical testing. This involves a use of physical means to gather sensitive information, like maybe you go ahead and threaten an employee or blackmail him to get the information you want. So that's why it's called physical testing. And the last one is client-side penetration testing. Basically, it aims to search and exploit vulnerabilities in client-side software program. For example, web browsers that you use such as Internet Explorers, Google Chrome, Firefox and all that. So guys, there are vulnerabilities present in those applications as well. So basically in this client-side penetration testing, it tries to find out vulnerabilities present in those web browsers or software packages such as Adobe or Adobe RoboHelp, media players, etc. and all that. Well, this is one way of categorizing penetration tests. Now there are two more ways. One is based on knowledge of target. Second one is based on position of penetration tester. So based on how much information a penetration tester knows, we have black box, gray box, and white box. So let's begin by white box. When the penetration tester is given complete knowledge of target, it's called white box penetration test. The attacker here usually has knowledge of IP address, which are controls in place, different kind of components of application, code samples, etc. And then there is black box testing. So when the attacker has no knowledge of target, it's referred to as black box penetration test. That's as simple as that. Finally, when the tester is having partial information about target, it's referred to as gray box penetration testing. In this case, the attacker is having some knowledge of target like URLs or IP address, etc., but he does not have complete knowledge or access. So, well, this is respect to type of knowledge that penetration tester process before he performs test. Now, based on position of penetration tester, there are different types of pen tests. We have already discussed network penetration testing, application penetration testing, and many others, right? Apart from this, there is something called external penetration testing. So if the penetration testing is conducted from outside the network of an organization, it's referred to as an external penetration testing. This test usually targets the assets of company that are visible on internet. For example, the web application itself or the company website, email, and domain name servers. So exactly opposite to external testing, we have something called internal testing as well. If the attacker is present inside the network, simulation of scenario is referred to as an internal penetration testing. A simple example would be an employee whose credentials were stolen due to a phishing attack. He might not be aware of this attack, but still he is a part of organization, right? So it is from inside the organization. So it's called internal penetration testing. Then there is something called targeted testing. It's performed by organization's IT team and penetration testing team working together. Then blind test. In blind test, the attacker is given limited information prior to test. And finally, double blind test. So as the name indicates, it takes the blind test and carries it a step further. In this type of pen test, at maximum, only one or two people within an organization will have knowledge that a penetration test is happening. So that's why it's called double blind pen test. Well, guys, these are different ways in which you can categorize pen tests. So I'm sure if next time if you find one, you can easily identify which type it belongs to. But the problem is with just these strategies and phases, they are not at all enough to perform an penetration test in reasonable amount of time. So this is where pen testing tools come into picture. Now let's talk about tools that a pen tester can use to reduce his burden and conduct the test. First of all, let's discuss why do we actually need these tools? Well, obviously, they save a lot of time and effort, so tools will identify these loopholes so that you can work on the next stage. They are more accurate with their findings, and a penetration tester cannot be an expert in all phases, right? So he can use different kind of tools to perform advanced analysis in each phase. Now, these tools can gather a lot of information and they can report it to tester very easily. So this data is usually used by internal teams to create strong architecture. Lastly, these tools automate the manual tasks. So teams can focus on skilled work rather than redundant tasks. If I have to summarize in single step, these penetration testing tools makes conducting a penetration test easy for a penetration tester. Well, there are a lot of popular penetration testing tools and a lot of them are free and open source software. Some of the most widely used free or open source pen testing tools include Nessus. It's a network or web application scanner. It can perform different types of scans and help a penetration tester identify vulnerabilities present. Now then there is Metasploit. It's an exploitation framework that has been packed with various capabilities. A skilled attacker can generate payloads, shell codes, gain access, and perform privileged escalation attacks. And Nmap, it's a very popular tool. It's short for Network Mapper, is a port scanner that scans systems and networks for vulnerabilities which are present in open ports. And then there are Wireshark, OpenSSL, John the Ripper, Cain and Abel, and many others. So guys, at this point, you must know what penetration testing is, different phases involved in performing a penetration test, different types of penetration testing, different categories of penetration tests, and finally, different kind of tools which are used to perform this penetration test successfully. So this is all about the theory part. Let's go ahead and explore a popular penetration testing tool called Metasploit. So let's get started then. It's called Metasploit Framework, so let's just search for that. It's the first link. As you can see, it's called Metasploit Project. It's a computer security project that provides information about security vulnerabilities and aids in penetration testing. Just click on that. So basically, it's an open source project which is owned by a security company called Rapid7, which licenses full-featured versions of Metasploit software. It's a great tool if you know how to use it. A skilled attacker can generate payloads, shell codes, gain access, and perform privileged escalation attacks with this tool. As you can see, there are different ways you can access Metasploit. There's something called Armitage. It's a fantastic Java-based graphical user interface for Metasploit framework. Then there's MSF console, which we will use today. It's a command line way of accessing Metasploit. So yeah, well, if you want to use it on Windows, there's a download option here. You can click on that. And it's open source. You have download option as well. But if you want some extra features, then you can go for Metasploit Pro with some extra features. If you want to know what are the extra features which you can get if you download Metasploit Pro, then you can go for option which is compare features here. We won't be going into that for now. So like I said, there are multiple ways of accessing Metasploit. One is Armitage. It's a graphical user interface front end. But now, as for this demo part, we'll be using MSF console. That's a command line interface of accessing Metasploit. So before we go ahead, a minor warning. Do not try performing penetration testing on any vulnerable application or networks which are available out there. It's illegal. There are separate softwares and applications which are created especially to experiment for pen testing. So to perform an web application penetration testing or a penetration testing in general, we need to set up a penetration testing environment. For that, we'll be downloading a virtual machine called Kali Linux. It's a virtual operating system to perform penetration testing. So just search for Kali Linux. As you can see, it's the official website. Click on that. So basically, this Kali Linux is a virtual operating system which contains different, actually 600 plus tools to perform penetration testing and forensics in cybersecurity or ethical hacking. If you want to know more about Kali Linux or how to install it and how to use different tools in Kali Linux, there's a video by Edureka in the cybersecurity playlist. Please do refer to that. So under downloads here, click on this download link and download Kali Linux. If you click on that, you'll go to a page where you have different kind of options. You have Kali Linux Lite for 64-bit and 32-bit, and then there's normal Kali Linux 64-bit, and there are different kind of other options. If you're using VMware or virtualization software such as VirtualBox, then you have a separate image for that as well. While Kali Linux installation process is about 7 to 8 minutes, it's not a lengthy process, but if you want to know from step 1 to last step, it's better that you download this ISO image depending on the operating system you're using. But if you just want to avoid all that, and if you want to just use the image, go ahead and download this image for VirtualBox or VMware, again, depending on the operating system you're using. So I've already downloaded it. All you have to do is click on the link. That's it. And that's one thing. One more thing, but we need some sort of vulnerable application or server to actually perform penetration testing, right? For that, we'll be using something called Metasploitable. There's Metasploitable 2 and Metasploitable 3, but we'll be using Metasploitable 2. And for that, Metasploitable 2. Once you click on that, there's a link called sourceforge.net. You can click on that and you get a download link. Download it. It's a zip file. Unzip it, and then you'll find an image of Metasploitable. I already have that. Let me show it to you guys. So that's as easy as it is to download the softwares which you need here. I've already downloaded it. Let me show it to you guys. It's there on my desktop. As you can see, I have a Kali Linux image and the Metasploitable 2 here. Okay. So yeah, that's it. While I'm using VMware, both of my Kali Linux and Metasploitable 2 are virtual machines. So I'm using a VMware for that. I'm more comfortable with that. But if you want to use VirtualBox or any other way of using this, you can go ahead and do that. I have my VMware powered up here. As you can see, I have 3 virtual machines which are already there: Ubuntu, Metasploitable 2, and Kali Linux. So let me just go to home page. Well, you have a new virtual machine option here. You can click on that. So like I said, if you want to install from first step till last step, then you can go ahead and click on this either custom or typical. Click on next and add the ISO file here and continue with the installation process. So like I said earlier, please do refer to other videos if you want to know more about installation process. There you go, guys. Now let's get started. As you can see, I already have my Kali Linux powered up. Before that, let me show you some settings. So it totally depends on what you're doing using Kali Linux. Based on that, you can assign a memory. Same goes for the hard disk as well. And as for the rest, display, you can go for accelerated 3D graphics because Kali Linux provides you a nice graphical user interface to interact with. It has a command line as well. But anyway, as you can see, I can't make settings here because my Kali Linux is powered up. So if it's off, then actually you can go ahead and change the settings. The most important thing here is network adapter here. You have multiple options. You have NAT, you have host only, and you have bridge connection. Here, as you can see, I'm using two virtual machines, which is Kali Linux and Metasploitable 2. Now, if I want both of them to interact, I need to set up a virtual network environment here. I can't just use NAT because both of them are going to assign with same IP, which is going to be a problem. So as you can see, I'm using bridge connection here, which is already set up, and click on OK. And let me power up Metasploitable 2. Same goes for that as well. Settings. So yeah, so you can see the network connection, both the options are set to bridged. So I'm going to power up this as well. While this is powering up, let me show you something in the Kali Linux part. If I maximize. Okay. So let's go to terminal here. Before that, as you can see, this is Kali Linux homepage. It's quite simple and you have a lot of applications to perform different kind of testings here. To perform web application analysis, you have multiple tools, information gathering, forensics, password attacks, and all that. And yeah, so terminal. There's a command called ifconfig to know the IP address of your virtual machine. So ifconfig. So as you can see, the IP address is this, that's 192.168.1.1, and it's the net mask address. Now let's go back to Metasploitable 2. It's powered up, Simize. So it's asking for the login. As you can see, it says login with MSF admin and MSF admin for the password as well. So MSF admin, password is also same. So we are into Metasploitable. So here again, I'm using ifconfig command to know the IP address. Config. As you can see, right now it's connected to Ethernet and it doesn't have an IP address assigned to it. For that, I'm going to change and make sure that it falls on the same subnet as that of Kali Linux. So sudo for the root access, ifconfig again, and the IP address. The NAT which you want to change here is ETHO or the network card. That's ETH0 as you can see, and 192.168.1.2. I'll make sure that the IP address falls in the same range as that of Kali Linux, and net mask is 255.0.0. Okay, click enter. It's asking for the password MSF admin. Now let's check again. So as you can see right now, an IP address has been assigned, which 192.168.1.2. So basically, if you want to do anything with the host, which is our Metasploitable 2 in this case, then we can use the IP address which we just assigned. Now to come out of the system, it's Control-Alt, and now going back to Kali Linux. MSF framework or Metasploitable framework is a default thing which is present in Kali Linux. We have it somewhere here. Give me a minute. So as we discussed earlier, there's Wireshark here, and you'll find MSF payload option is there, Armitage. You can see the first option there. And there's Nmap, which comes under multiple categories. As you can see, it comes under vulnerability analysis as well, and information gathering as well. There we go, guys. Now to start up Metasploitable framework, it's very simple. All you have to do is type MSF console. So it says it's starting the Metasploitable framework console. So yeah, as you can see, it's open up, and once it's powered up, it'll provide you different options or what you usually call modules. Almost all your interaction with Metasploit will be through these modules. So as you can see, these are the modules. You have NOPs, encoders, payloads, post, auxiliary, and exploits. So all these Metasploit modules are organized into separate directories according to their purpose. Well, the directory where they're stored is, let me just open new tab. It's CD under user share. Let me just type ls. Here you can see Metasploit framework. Open that CD, just copy it and paste. And paste, click enter and ls. Let me clear the screen, ls. So we are under Metasploit framework directory. Under that you have something called modules here. So if we go to modules and ls, it lists out all the 6 modules which we just saw earlier. You have auxiliary, encoders, exploits, NOPs, payloads, and post. So it's divided into 6 categories. Using these modules, you can take advantage of vulnerabilities which are present in system or any network or any application. So to begin with, we have something called exploit. In the demo part, we'll see how to make use of this exploit module and get access into our Metasploitable host from Kali Linux. CD exploit ls So this lists out different exploits in terms of operating system. As you can see, I have Apple iOS here, I have Linux, IRIX, and Solaris, and all that. Different kind of exploits that are available in all these operating system will be listed in this module. As for the auxiliary, it includes tools like port scanners, fuzzers, and all. Let's just go for that. CD. It should work now, right? So as you can see, it has a lot of scanners, it has fuzzers, it has sniffers, and many other options like spoof. Then you have client, different kind of crawlers and all that. So back. And then apart from auxiliary, we also have payloads, exploits, and NOPS. Payloads usually consist of code that run remotely, while encoders ensure that the payload makes it to their proper destination intact with all the information intact, and NOPS keeps the payload sizes consistent across exploit attempts. So there you go, guys. I've just gone through all the modules. Now let's go back to Metasploit framework, which is here. Let me clear the screen. Now, earlier I talked about a tool called Nmap, short for Network Mapper. It's a port scanner that scans systems and networks for vulnerabilities linked to open ports. So basically it scans and lists out different kind of open ports, closed ports, and all that. So the command that you want to use is nmap and health. So basically it lists out all the options which we have under nmap. And at the end, it even shows the examples of how to use nmap. Well, if you exclude all the commands here, the basic thing that you can do is nmap and the IP address or the website, whichever you want to scan for. As for this demo, we'll be using two options, which is -v command here. As you can see, it prints the version number, and -s, which is nothing but used for scanning, which is here. It's just type of scanning. So if we combine them together, we have something called -sv. Just give me a minute. Here, service version detection. -sv, it probe open ports to determine service or version information. We'll be using that command here. So let me get back. Let me clear the screen again. And nmap. And we want to scan our host operating system, which is Metasploitable 2. And the IP address is 192. If you remember, it's 192.168.1.2. So as you can see, it took about 0.38 seconds to scan our host system. It's a basic scan. It doesn't list much information, but it just lists out the number of ports which are closed and all the ports which are open. As you can see, we have FTP at port number 21, SSH at 22 default ports. Then you have NetBIOS or Microsoft DS at 139 and 445 port, MySQL at so-and-so port number, and PostgreSQL and all that. Now, if you want to perform an aggressive scanning, nmap -sv like we discussed earlier, and the IP address. It's starting, but it's going to take a minute. I'll get back to you once it's done. So as you can see, the aggressive scanning is done here. So basically what we did is we need to find out the ports and the services which are running on our target system, which is Metasploitable 2. That's why we use the command called nmap and -sv options for detailed scanning. So as you can see, it shows the version of each and every service. For FTP, this is the version. And for MySQL, this is the version that's running on our target system, which is Metasploitable 2. Then you have Samba, which we'll be using in this demo. The Samba, it's a free software re-implementation of SMB networking protocol. I'm sure you've heard of SMB. Well, operating systems like Windows use SMB to perform client-server networking for file, print sharing, or other operations. So basically, all these operating systems use Samba or SMB for client-server networking. So as you can see, it basically runs on port 139 and 445 in TCP. So if you want to run a Samba server, the firewall of that box would need to be open to allow these ports in. In this demo, I'll show you how to find out the version of this Samba, making use of different modules like auxiliaries and exploits, which we just learned earlier. Apart from that, as you can see, it says it took about 96.14 seconds to perform the entire scan and all that. So let me clear the screen. Now, I just want to see what are the modules which are listed under Samba. For that, I'm using search, SAMBA, and it's going to take a while. So as you can see, it's searched for different modules which are present under Samba. We have auxiliary module, we have exploit as well, and one post here. And as you can see, it also specifies the disclosure rate, rank as in how much exploit can be done using this different kind of modules here. So we have normal, great, excellent, and all that. And the description about each exploit. For example, this one, it says the version which we're using is 2.2.2 and this is and all that. So since we are performing exploit anyway, let's just select one which is an excellent ranking. So we'll be using this here. We'll talk about that later. Before that, as I said earlier, Samba is re-implementation of SMB. So I'm going to search for all other modules under name SMB. So the scanning is done, but let me just minimize the view. So it's lists out different modules under SMB. We are looking for version, the one which we want to exploit. So it's usually under auxiliary, scanner, SMB, and version. Here it is, auxiliary, scanner, SMB, and version. As for the effect it has, it's normal. And the description is to find out the SMB version detection. That's the description of the module. So basically we're using this module to find out the version of Samba. So there we go. So let me copy this command first, because I'll have to use it later. And if using it for the first time, it might be difficult to remember. Copy. So basically it's under auxiliary module and we're using scanner for that and SMB version. And let me clear the screen. We have a command called use. Type use. It says use this command to interact with the module of a given name. So let me specify the name. We just copied it, right? Let me paste it. And we are in. So you can just use command info. So basically we use this command to set the scanning parameter. Now we are into it. We'll use info command. So yeah, it lists out all the information regarding this module. It's used for SMB version detection, and this is the module name, and the rank is normal. And you have basic options. If you want to just see the options, show options command. So yeah, as you can see, we have remote host, which is our host, SMB domain, user, and threads. Basically, threads are nothing but how many times you want to run the module. By default, it's set to 1. You can set it to 20, 30. It depends on how many times you want to run the module. Now I want to find out the version of Metasploitable 2. So for that, I need to set the remote host as my host system. So for that, I'm using set command. It's usually used to set a value for a variable. So the variable which you're using here is our host. Make sure you've used the right name of the variable host, right? And the IP address, which is 192.168.1.2. Now if I click yes, okay, I'll just show it here only so that you won't lose the rest of the information. I'm using show options again. Let me just clear the screen for you guys. Sorry about that. So show options. As you can see, in my remote host is now set to our host target system, which is Metasploitable 2 IP address. Now use the command run. So as you can see, this is the target system and version which we're using is this. So now we know how to find the version of the host system. As you can see, we have made use of auxiliary module here and found out the version. So guys, this is how you can find the version of our remote host, which is set to Metasploitable 2 here. So we have made use of auxiliary port here. Now let's see how to make use of exploit module and exploit the vulnerabilities present in our target system. So if I want to exit, it's exit. We are back to our root access, but let me just go back to MSF console. So yeah, we already gone through all the modules and all. So let me just jump to search Samba. As you can see, it's already performed the scanning. So yeah, different modules, auxiliary, which we've already gone through to find out the version. Now let's go through the other module, which is exploit. Since we are already using the module, let's just go for one which is excellent ranking. So here, which is user map script. So as for the description, it basically allows us to get access to our target system from the Skull Linux. So all you have to do is use the use command again. Like I said earlier, it's used to interact with the module of a given name. So copy this command. This is the one, right? Copy it, use, and paste. Clear the screen. So info. So yeah, once you do that, it'll give you all the information about the module. So as you can see, that's the name of the module, the platform it's working on, that's Unix, and you have the rank, which is excellent, and the date on which this exploit or the module was disclosed. And then you have the information regarding by whom it's provided, then available target. Then you have certain basic options. Let's just go through description to see what actually this module does. So as you can see, this module exploits a command execution vulnerability in Samba version. The configuration which uses to perform that is username map script. So basically, by specifying a username containing shell meta characters, attackers can execute arbitrary commands. So basically, we don't need any authentication to get into our Metasploitable host or the target operating system. So in simple terms, we're using this module to get access to Metasploitable 2 from this host operating system. Let me clear the screen for you guys. So as you can see, I have the basic options here. To exploit Metasploitable 2, again, I'll have to set my remote host to its IP address. So like we saw earlier, the target port is already 139, the TCP port. Like I said earlier, it's usually 139 or 145 for Samba. So set command. So make sure you don't give an extra S here. Unlike auxiliary, this exploit provides an default option of exploiting just one target machine. So as you can see, it's just our host here, not HOSTS 192.168.1.2. It's set. So again, you can click for show option. So as you can see, our host or the remote host is set to our target operating system, which is Metasploitable 2. And the remote port is 139, which we already saw earlier when I did nmap. Now that the target is set, all you have to do is make use of this exploit module. For that, the command that you have to use is exploit. So as you can see, it started the server and target machine. So victim can connect to your server if payload is successful. And then it did all necessary steps that are needed to run exploit on the system and execute payload, like write into socket A, reading from sockets and all that. Before that, the connection request from host operating system and the connection is being accepted from the target operating system without target knowing all about it. As you can see right now, you can't see anything. It's not even asking for you to do anything. But we are into our Metasploitable 2. To check that out, you can just use command ls. There you go, guys. It's just listed all the files which are available in Metasploitable 2. You can always go and recheck in Metasploitable 2. Now let me try no command. Let's see the permissions. So as you can see, it is listed out the file permissions as well, the root access and the date on which the file was created and all that permissions here. Now, just to make sure if you're running as a root or not, pwd is the command. It is all the basic Linux commands. I'm sure you know that. As you can see, it says running as root. This option basically shows that right now we have root access to Metasploitable 2 from other operating system. We are into the system now. I'm a root user. If I ask who am I, it says I'm the root user. Now that we know we're root user, let's just go ahead and add one user. Add user and hacker me. So new password, anything you want. Let's just give the same password. So basically it's asking you to provide the full name, room number, or the rest of the information. If you want, go ahead and do that. And once you've provided the necessary information for your user which you just created, just click Y. Now let's check out if the user has been successfully added. etc is usually under PA password, right? So as you can see, I've done this before. So it says the local hacker was the one which we used earlier. So right now it says hacker me, which we just created, is being added to our target system. Now let me just open terminal. And we'll be using SSH to connect to our host and to log in as user. Username, which was hacker me, at IP address 192.168.1.2 and click. So we are in. It's asking for the password, which was hacker em. There we go, guys. We are into system now. It says hacker me. So this is just one exploit that we made use of. As you can see earlier, when I used ls on exploit, we saw different operating systems under which you can find different kind of vulnerabilities which you can exploit on. So basically, to summarize what we just did, first we scanned the entire system. We learned about different ports which are open in our target system. And then we learned different version identification for those ports. And then we searched for different exploit on those systems and exploited them and gained control of the system, which is Metasploitable in our case. So guys, try it out. If you have any doubts, post them in the comment section. Just don't stick with this exploit. Make sure you go ahead and use of other exploits as well. So yeah, that's it, guys. So guys, that is it in this session. I hope the session was informative and demo fun. Make sure you do other things as well. In the demo, try out new things. If you have any session while performing any exploits or vulnerabilities or any kind of doubts regarding penetration testing, please do post them in the comment section below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you guys and meet you in the next session with another interesting video.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it and you can comment any of your doubts and queries and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!